Hello.
Hi.
Happy full moon, almost.
Yeah. I know.
Sounds like the furthest away that we've ever done. We're recording on the 4th of September, and it's like not till the 10th. Usually it's been like a lot
A
closer.
couple days.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Even so,
It,
anytime.
it looks nice where you are. Looks like
This
is the weather good?
it is. It's so nice. And I can feel that we're headed into fall for sure. Like the days are getting so much shorter. And so there was just something like it's super nice out, like low 70s. And I just wanted to like soak it up while we can. So, yeah. This is the front of my brother's house.
Pretty.
I actually have signal here, so I could use my little hotspot for my internets.
Oh, yay.
Such an adventure. Mm. Yeah.
How's it going for you, guys? How about you, Maddie?
Yeah.
I have been having a super busy weekend. My sister teaches sixth grade, which bless her soul for that. But she starts school on Tuesday, so I've been helping her in her classroom.
Oh,
Yeah, and I went to an elementary. They're like, I mean, I don't know how it was for you guys, but for me, I had sixth grade was in middle school, but she's in the elementary school. Um, so I went to an elementary school and I left with homework. Um, but yeah, I have like pictures of books from her classroom that I need to like look them up and then find the reading level, and then I'm gonna send it back to her so she can label them. And yeah,
oh,
so I'm just trying to help her out as much as I can.
That's so sweet.
you
It's
sweet
fun.
sister.
Aw, thanks. Yeah, I'm glad to help her out. It's a lot of work. I don't know how she does it, honestly. Like, especially that age. Ooh, it's tough.
I know. I've had a lot of teachers as friends, and they put a lot of their own money and time outside of regular school hours, so much time and money, and it's crazy. You have to really love it. You have to really love it.
You really
That's
do.
what I was gonna say was like, I gotta think that's how she does it. It's like she just genuinely loves what she's doing. I can't imagine another reason.
I
You
know, because it's been hard. Like she'll be
I
the
know.
first to tell you it's been hard, especially with it's her fourth year now. And COVID, I guess if this is year four, COVID was her first year teaching. So they all like went home as of March, and just things were weird and yeah. But so it's probably going to be her closest to normal year this year. But she also
Mm.
kind of like it's really cool actually for her. She found a way to really like mix her passions together because she loves teaching, but she also really loved learning Spanish growing up. And so now she's like a dual language classroom teacher. And so she gets to like half of the day teach in Spanish and half of the day she teaches in English. And the kids like, oh, some of them are native Spanish speakers, others are not. But that's how they're all like learning Spanish and English together. So it's pretty
Cool.
cool.
So cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been fun to watch her like find her path and everything because she just, yeah, brought two of her passions together.
Because how old is she? She's like
She
27.
just turned 27. Yeah, she's young.
Oh, because she's a Leo, right?
She
Leo
is.
sun.
Yeah, she's the Leo sun with the Pisces moon, my opposite.
That's so wild that you guys are opposites like that.
I know. I was telling my mom recently, sorry, I'm kind of going on a tangent here, but I wonder if
What
this
else
is
are
the
we here
thing
for?
where maybe when we're young, we kind of embody our moon a little bit more. I
Mhm.
wonder because my Leo moon, I mean, I was such a like goofy, like bright, like such a ham, like very theatrical child. Um, and she was very kind of like quiet and sweet, and she has the Pisces moon and like kind of more artistic and creative. And then as we've grown, and we seemed really different, but as we've grown up, I think that we realized that we're a lot more similar than we wanted to give each other credit for. We have a lot in common, but yeah, I think we kind of were our moon signs when we were kids, and we seemed so different. But now we're both this kind of balance between Pisces and Leo. in different ways, but it's like you can tell it's both of those energies for both of us, just kind of in a different manifestation of that. So it's been interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jodi, do you have placements in Pisces and Leo?
Yeah. So my Mercury is in Leo,
Okay.
and that's in the third. And then Pisces, I don't have planets, but it's in my 10th.
Is that like your midheaven?
My midheaven is in my 9th. If you
So
go by whole sign.
Aquarius.
Oh,
Okay.
Yeah.
that makes
So you're an air rising and an air midheaven. I think I realized that.
Yeah. Yeah, I can be really floaty and goofy. Yeah, that Aquarius. That Aquarius. Josh is Aquarius sun, Pisces moon. My daughter is Gemini sun. My daughter is Gemini sun, rising, Mercury, Venus. Yeah. And then she has Jupiter and Neptune in Taurus. No. Yeah. No, did I say she has a moon in Gemini? That's wrong. She has moon in Pisces.
Oh,
Okay.
She has at least 3 planets in Gemini.
nice.
You didn't say the moon. So moon in
Okay.
Pisces. And then she has Jupiter and what in Taurus?
Neptune.
Oh, okay.
No, look, hold on. I'm getting that mixed up.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I took her, yeah, because
That's coming up.
I took her chart off of my like phone and stuff because I was like looking at it too much. And I feel like I was like sending her energy. So I'm like, I'm gonna only do this if she asks me to do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, she has Jupiter and Saturn in Taurus.
Ooh,
Yeah,
that's really interesting.
yeah.
Oh, so fun.
Yeah.
How have you been doing, Jodi? What have you been up to?
I've been doing just I've been off from the VA work this week. That's probably why I was so chatty with you guys. Just like hi, blah, blah, blah.
Fun.
Stream of consciousness. So that was fun. But yeah, I've been doing well and I've been seeing the doctor lately and going to get more massage. I realized this morning after I told you about Buddha yoga, BUTI, I'm like, wait a second, I used to do Kundalini yoga all the time. And it's there's tons online. You can do it at home. And the big thing was when I went to my doctor, I was having the panic attacks and my heart was squeezing my chest. I was like, having chest pain. So she had a PA there she was training. So she was like, can she stay in here and do all this stuff? And it was really interesting. The PA, she had just broken her ankle from roller derby, just trying roller derby on her first day. And then we found out her best friend works at the VA and I know her best friend. It was wild. So anyway, when she was checking, because I was just like, the chest pain and the chest squeezing and the like pain and migraine and stuff like that. Anyway, she was like, do you mind? And because I've worked in a hospital for so long, I don't care about body stuff. And because I've done my own like healing work with body, like I can just be like, walk around naked. I don't care. Yeah, that was funny when I started doing that after Bryn was a teenager. She was just like, you're just walking around naked all the time. And I'm like, well, get used to it. And then so now she does too. She's just like flashing me. I'm like, that's the way it should be. You should feel comfortable. But anyway, so in the doctor's appointment, the doctor must have sensed this about me. She's like, can you take off your shirt so I can show her your back? And usually now how doctors are all like, I'll leave the room so you can do. I was like, yeah. So I just took it off. And then they were looking down my spine and they were like touching the left side of my body. And she was like, you see this there, you see this there. And then she was like pressing on different things all on the left side. And I was like, oh, it like hurt my whole was burning everything. And then she was showing where my ribs were on my back. She was showing the PA like how unbalanced I was and how like it was hard as a rock. So from there, she was like massage, and then I was, my like I had dizziness and stuff, and she's like, "Oh, this is because the whole left side of your body is completely like almost frozen." So she was telling me get massage. Yeah. Yeah. So today, boom, it occurred to me the left side of the body is
Yeah. It's like the, yeah, right.
feminine. My feminine is all frozen.
Um, that's why, oh, I love like the mind body connection because that's like a real, I don't know, like how did you feel when you like connected that dot? Like, did that like,
Today, I was just like, oh my God, that's like all this stuff I've been on the mental plane, like fighting with the VA, like not fighting with the VA, but fighting with that job. And like, I've been stuck on the mental plane, which is very masculine. And I haven't been doing exercises that are like Kundalini and like spiraling and feminine and like that stuff, like as often as I need to. And receiving like massage, like I'm like, oh my God, I completely fell off the massage train. I'm like, I need to get into receiving mode to like heal all this.
it makes a lot of sense. Our bodies really, I have this book, it's called Your Body Speaks Your Mind. And I feel like that's very true. True statement. Well, hopefully that's like a new path that's opened up towards healing that I hopefully like feels good. And it's like I get to
It
like
does.
move and be like, yeah, move more freely and dance and sing and yeah, like receive the feminine side of things.
Yeah,
Well, that's a wow, powerful realization.
totally, totally. It- and I've been there before. I've been balanced before. It's not like it's completely new territory for me. I'm just like, whoa, that's weird how you can get out of balance and not even realize it, even if you've been there before.
It makes so much sense. And it makes sense that we don't always stay in balance. Like sometimes I have this thought like, oh, once they get there, we'll be good to go. It's like, no, it's everything is always waxing and waning and ebbing and flowing. And it's totally normal to find ourselves back out of balance, I think.
Yeah.
And it's like with the vortex, like that's the best part is going in. The way to continue doing that is to keep going out. So it makes sense to me.
The
Feels very
most exhilarating part is the pendulum swinging up, not being up there, because as soon as you're up there, you're falling. So,
Right.
like, it's just a split second in time anyway. But, like, the swing up is so fun. And you got to be coming out of the swing on the other side. That's where that momentum comes from. You know, they're connected.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah. The best part is going in. So, how do I get in there and just never ever come out? You're missing the best part. It gets me every time.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dolly and I were talking about this the other day around drinking because she and I both tend to be on this cycle of like we don't for a while and then we feel great every single time we have that awareness. And then when you haven't had a beer for a while, it tastes so good. And then we'll start drinking again. And it's like the best part is when the clarity is brand spanking new. That's the best part. Like day 3 or 4 with no alcohol. When your brain is getting clear and your energy level is shooting up, like that's literally the best part. And I'm like, when I stay like sober for a couple months, it's like literally feels so good. It becomes boring that you have a tendency to like implode and like, can you handle that much stillness and wellness? Like, I think Jodi, I think you were saying the other day, like sometimes I just like to poke my head in on a little bit of drama that so wrong? Like, I like a little bit of intrigue in my world. Like, I don't think so. I try for it to be other people's drama mostly and not my own. But yeah, every once in a while you need that. So it's like, I don't think we're meant to just like be perfect and be healthy, like
Mhm.
perfect beings forever. Like, what fun is that? There's no swinging at all. You're just stuck at a state and then you're bored no matter how good that state is. Those are my 10 cents.
Totally.
Yeah. Yeah. And personality, I feel like personality is so fun. Like we were getting into the ego thing, but it's like, I feel like ego is part of what helps form a personality. And personalities are so interesting. It's like, I don't want to bypass the personality. I want to bring the personality along for the ride, you know?
Totally.
But I love like when somebody's like, I don't believe that, or I feel differently. And I'm like, ooh, tell me more. I like the way you said that.
Literally, like, spill the tea.
Tell me. What?
Which I think is such a healed perspective, like one that I know I haven't always had access to. Like when people disagreed with me, like that used to be a button, and maybe sometimes is still a button, but I definitely have a better relationship with it now to where it's a lot closer to what you're saying, where like somebody was telling me, kind of giving me a compliment and saying like, oh, I just resonate with so much of what you say, some of the stuff not really, but and I'm just like, what was that stuff? Like, let's talk about that. Like, what is it about me that makes you make that face? I want to hear more. Yeah, I was like genuinely curious. And I was like, that feels really good to not feel attacked, but to feel curious about where we might be different. So, yeah, that feels good.
And likely the things that I feel like the things that we disagree on are quite surface level generally for people. And I'm like, oh, change my mind. Like try changing my mind. You know what I mean? Like I kind of I like that too. Like tell me like, yeah, it did take me a while. I think I was hurt a lot when I was younger. Like I have these values and these things. And then if you're outside of that and you like challenge me, then I'm like, it hurts my feelings because it did feel like my identity.
Yeah.
And now I'm just like, I think now it's just more fun because I like to float above identity for fun.
Yeah.
And also like I like apologizing now if I've offended others. I mean, I'm not looking for offenses. I feel like if I've offended people, I kind of like I'm open to them telling me. You know, like I kind of have this rule like, well, if I've offended somebody, it's really up to them to tell me. And then if they do, like I'm open to it. You know, and open for a closer bond because of it. But also I just don't get offended that easily anymore by attitudes.
Like I'm getting there.
Yeah. I'm working on it.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
it's not something that came easily. I don't know when it started, but when it did start, I was just like, this is fun. I've been around other people, generally guys. Guys tend to be able to just like they don't. My experience with guys is that they don't, and this isn't every guy, obviously, but they don't tend to take things personally. They're just like, oh, what is that? You know, they're not like, what does that mean? What did you think? What is that? What did that influx mean or whatever?
Yeah.
Like with Josh, especially, well, any of my boyfriends or husband, when I had one, he didn't take things personally like I did. I was always like, well, what are you thinking? What did you mean by that? And they're like, literally nothing. Literally nothing. I have nothing to say. I didn't stew over it for like 3 hours like you did.
So true. Yeah, like that's like a kind of it feels like a kind of like the typical masculine energy is more like that. I was just having this conversation with my mom about like I have pretty basically all my cousins were all girls for the most part. There's like one boy on each side and the rest are girls. And then the generation before me was like all boys and one girl, at least on my dad's side. Um, there wasn't really cousins on my mom's side the generation before, but yeah, like she was just telling me how like all the my dad and all of his boy cousins, they are just like best friends. They have been best friends for so long. Like there's never been any drama. It's never really been an issue. And they just are like buddies. And that's how it's been. And then with like the girl cousins in my generation, it's not been like that. It really hasn't been like that. And things have been taken very personally and it's been very like competitive with each other. And it's interesting to see the difference in the dynamic, I guess.
Mm.
But that's of course like just kind of feminine energy versus masculine energy and depends on like what mixture each of us is bringing to the table.
Yeah.
Definitely like regardless of gender, I think, or your physical like sex.
For sure, for sure. I'm just saying in general, my experience with guys has taught me a lot about letting things roll off my back.
Mm.
Just in general.
So it's kind of like just embracing your own masculine energy, maybe.
Yeah, like, oh, I want a piece of that, like in me. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd like to activate that. Yeah, I have it. Yeah. But
Yeah.
I'd like to activate that. Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Because I think I have like a little bit of a different experience, which gives me just a different perspective on like biological gender in general, because I am such like a masculine female. And I have there was me and my three brothers, and then there's 10 grandkids total, and I'm the only girl. And we all grew up like here in town, and we're all within like maybe 5 years of age between like the maybe eight between like the oldest and then the youngest. So very close in age. So very much grew up with them and like basically grew up as a boy, like for the most part. Like I had to wear their hand-me-downs because they were bigger than me. Um, I did what they wanted to do because they had the votes. Like it was a very democratic situation, and we were operating mostly in a masculine way. That's what we did. We rode four-wheelers, we played kickball, we like did all that stuff and like watched the Adam Sandler movies and like basically grew up a boy. And so yeah, I don't know. I have a hard time with labels in general, but like anytime we start saying like men this or women this, like I instantly am like, I don't fit your stereotype. And I have a hard time like with stereotypes in general. I feel like that's part of what my energy is for in this
Yeah.
place is like, how helpful are they really? You know,
Yeah.
when it's like, yeah, I want to activate my own masculine side. I want to, for me, it was very much the opposite. Like I had to set out to like activate my feminine energy because masculine was like all I knew. I didn't have any, even the women in my family were like very stoic, very like do your work, get your business done, very analytical and like spreadsheets and finances and bookkeeping and like there wasn't really any feminine emotional beings in my upbringing. So I didn't know what that looked like until way later when it was like kind of the be the parent you wish you had kind of quote that led me into I think I need to get in touch with my emotions. I needed somebody in my childhood who was in touch with their emotions, and there wasn't one. Like nobody around me had emotions. And I thought I was like the one alien being on the planet that came with these stupid things. That was little girl Carly talking. She's still kind of resentful. It was hard. It's hard to like be the black sheep, the one with emotions in a sea of testosterone, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, that was my experience. And yeah, I think it just really does depend on like what did you come with and what did you choose as your introductory experience, you know?
Yeah, that's so interesting too that you like felt that emotional energy. Like would you say you like felt that energy inside of you and it kind of just made you feel different from the people around you?
I had like just like really big emotions always. And the Leo moon, like I'm very dramatic, I'm very theatrical when it comes to how I feel. I'm good at conveying that to an audience. And yeah, like okay, so for example, our family dog like got hit on the highway one day and like I cried for probably like 2 days. I was like devastated, like inconsolable. And like my brothers are laughing about it when they tell me. And like that's how they cope is like, laugh through the pain or whatever. But like then they're making fun of me because of like my big emotions and like, God, get it together. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, and so it wasn't even so much like my parents or anything. Usually it was more like these boys that are just like freaking constant in my experience, like welcome to the third house and siblings. But yeah, it's like they were mirrors that told me it wasn't okay that I possessed this energy. And so I
Mhm.
was taught that like keep it as under wraps as you possibly can because otherwise they will torment you over it. And so I learned how to bottle and then I, had to go through all of the like turmoil that basically led to the video I released on the channel this morning. Like I had to figure out like you got to get in touch with that energy. You cannot
Yeah.
expect it to just hang out in there indefinitely. Eat your lunch. It'll come for you. And it did over and over again. So yeah, it was like you have to find balance. Otherwise, like I don't think we can survive like that. Like I think when we're out of balance on either side, like it's incredibly painful to keep part of who you are locked in the basement. That
Definitely.
doesn't work. I don't think that matters like on gender, we all need both. Otherwise you're going to be really, I don't know, like in resistance. Like yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, even like I'm just thinking back, like being surrounded by more so like feminine energy, like females.
Mhm.
I didn't learn how to express my emotions. Nobody taught me that. I saw everybody around me shoving their feelings down too. So it's like they were females, yes, and they had this emotional energy, but they didn't know how to work with it either. And I never really learned how. And that's like, that's what I'm doing right now in my life is learning that and figuring that out. And it just makes me think how like definitely like the masculine expression is much more valued in society in general. And so even like being surrounded by feminine energy, like nobody knew how to embrace it, how to like love that in themselves, basically. And so like it makes me feel excited, I guess, to like learn how to do that and then be able to start showing that and like passing that along to future generations of boys and girls, like learn how to embrace your feminine energy because that's not something we're really inherently taught and we're more so like the masculine expression is definitely like prized, like being ambitious and just
Mhm.
kind of that more like outgoing energy, which is super important. Like, there's no doubt about it. But I just, yeah, would love to see more people like love and embrace their feminine energy because we do all have it, you know, even if you're surrounded by males, like they've got it in there somewhere. It might not be dominant in them, but it is in them and most likely is something that they are also shoving down, even though they might not realize it. So it's, yeah, we can all just embrace and love our feminine energy. I think it would be better. Like, it'd be just a good thing for everybody. So
Both of them.
good
But
for us for learning how to, yeah, strike a balance and embrace them both.
Yeah, well said. Well said. Yeah.
and honestly, like that's such a helpful reflection for me because I've told that story quite a bit, like that I didn't learn how to express my emotions or like work with them because I grew up around men, basically. And
Mhm.
like,
Help.
kind of, is that true? Is that why you didn't learn? Because now here you are with this story about you grew up around mostly women and you didn't learn either. So my story doesn't hold water anymore. And that was probably helpful to like point out the hole in this story, which is again, gender has nothing to do with it.
The more we think
Feminine energy is new to us, maybe. Well, not anciently, but more modernly, very newer to be expressed and embraced and valued. Yeah.
Yeah. My mother didn't express her emotions either. She expressed love through physical care. I mean, she was a Taurus. I don't know the rest of her chart. I wish I had gotten that. Um, but yeah, through physical care and like physical, like I know I was physically cared for and like spent a lot of time with me. And then when they divorced, I moved with my dad and my brother to another state, and my dad was um super abusive and super hated women, hated the feminine, probably hated the feminine in himself. And so then I got the brunt of that energy pushing me down. And I was already like, I had grandparents and aunts who were emotionally loving and caring. So I could cry with them and like be affectionate and stuff like that. So thank goodness I had that. So I never stuffed down the emotions. I just ended up having friends and my friends' families. And then my boyfriend in high school, his family was very loving. So in some ways, I feel like angels were always given to me, in the midst of stuff, like continuously over and over, angels that I can look back on that helped me heal and really keep keep going. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really a good point too, that like it's not just our families, and like there are other people who come into our lives surely not on accident, like to show us these things and to be those examples. And yeah, they are like there are earth angels, and they signed up to serve that role for us. Yeah, that's nice.
That is nice. Oh,
It's
You
cool to
got
think about like being that for somebody else too. Like the more we can do this for ourselves, then we can be that for somebody else. And that's a really nice thought. That like they don't have to be our kid or like necessarily our blood. Like we can still be that example and have that like positive impact on other people, which is really cool.
Yeah, I feel that. I feel that big time. I feel gratitude. I feel gratitude and enough space from that portion of my life to where I'm like, I want my cup overflow with. Not every day. I mean, I get tired and stuff like that, but literally that grace that was given to me, I want to give back so badly because it was healing. And I'm appreciative. I'm grateful, grateful.
I feel like when we figure out how to like help ourselves stop hurting in a meaningful way, like the only next step is to pay it forward and like give it to the rest of them, like as much as anybody is open for or wants to cross my path. Like, oh, yeah. I mean, it's hard to see that like before, like again, before my consistent like self-care and morning time. I feel like I wanted to do something important with my life, but at the same time, like I was just like so hungry on every level because I wasn't feeding myself. And it's like when you're that hungry, it's so hard to be generous with the other ones. Like, so yeah, I mean, I had to get really full and then overflow. And I'm like, I got plenty. Like, if any you need some, yeah, here you go. I got plenty. But it took a while to like give yourself the grace and like let it accumulate inside of yourself and like deem yourself worthy of being the only one who receives your love. If that's all that happens today, if all I do is love myself, that's good enough. And it's like I've spent years doing it that way before I had enough of like the cup overfloweth kind of energy of like, I want to give this away. It's just piling up around me. Like, let's start making videos. Let's start doing podcast episodes. Like, let's do events. Let's do something to send this energy into somebody else's world because I'm good. I really am. I'm fed. I'm so full. I'm satisfied.
Yeah.
That's like a whole different world that I didn't even know that was like a thing.
I'm curious, what was the point where you realized I can give this to myself and I'm going to? Like I sought out other people, like I sought out therapists and sought out things like that. And then I ended up learning those types of self-care through that. But I sought out other people first. You know, like I was just like, this isn't working. This isn't working.
Yeah.
Can you help me?
Yeah. Yeah. I
When
think
did
that
you
was
decide?
the turning point, like the day before I began daily self care 6 years ago, I went and saw a therapist. And in the first 5 minutes of me telling her, like, this is not working, none of this is working, she goes and gets the Louise Hay deservability treatment and brings it to me. And she says, read this out loud. And it ripped me apart because not a single word of it was true at that time. And I cried and cried and cried over, like, you're right, I fucking hate myself. Yep, that seems to be the root of what we got going on here is that there is a mountain of self loathing and self resentment inside of myself. It's not even that I don't love myself, I don't even like myself. So that deservability treatment of like convincing myself that I was worthy of good things, that was where I had to start. Was like, no, you're not. No, you're not. You haven't earned it yet. You haven't done enough to prove yourself yet. That's where I was. And I was about to die over it. And I went to the therapist instead, and she gave me the deservability treatment. And I feel like that was really the beginning of like my self-worth journey. Like I had been on maybe a self-awareness journey up until that point, and that's where it became a self-worth journey of finding my own value. And that was the beginning of falling in love with myself. Um, she had me read the deservability treatment. She's like, read it at least every day to yourself out loud, to yourself, looking in the mirror, and try to make eye contact with yourself as you say these words. And I did it like a couple times a day for about a couple months. And doing it about 120 times, I was like smiling. It was making me happy to say these words to myself. Like it really did sink in. Like it took repetition to cut through the density that I had built up to that point. But it's like not over until it's over. And I wasn't too far gone. And my self-hatred wasn't too far gone. I was able to like with that continuous attention onto myself, like a little bit every day. Yeah, I'm not so bad. Oh, it took a minute to see that, but
Yeah.
I got there.
It's almost like it satisfied I mean, you did the work, you did the practice, you looked at yourself, even though it probably didn't feel great. So it satisfied your need for respecting yourself, doing the work, and then also maybe got to a deeper level of love. So it's like, that's really interesting. I don't know that a lot of people do that. Even in this, to have you have the faith to keep going and the wherewithal. That's just very, very neat.
Well, and like that next morning, Saturday morning, then I went to the therapist on a Friday. I woke up that morning, like how Byron Katie describes, like how the cockroach crawled over her foot and she woke up with a level of clarity that she had like never had before. That was me, July 9th, 2016. And I woke up and I was like mad, slash determined, because I was like resolute, and this sounds so morbid, but like I was either going to get happy or I would just kill myself at some point and just be done, because like what's the worst that can happen? Either I'm going to get happy or it'll just be over, and I had like surrendered to that option. So I'm going to try. I'm going to do the thing she said, read it to yourself in the mirror for like 30 days. So if I'm not happy in 30 days, I got option B, plan B. It's fine. It's ready to go. It's in place. So I had nothing to lose. I was done being here on this planet. And so, like, at that point, like, do you want to live or not? So that was where I was coming from. It like wasn't an option anymore. I had like passed that point. So for me, it was definitely, that's what I meant the other day when I was like, self-care, daily self-care is a life or death situation. That's what that means. Is like that's where I was coming from. And the only time I've ever quit in the last 6 years, it like fell apart in less than 3 weeks. My energy, my stability, my well-being, like it was just, no, you need to do this every day. You can't just, oh, I feel good and I got other things going on. No, 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 no. Every day. Yeah. So that's my story of like where I came from when I made that commitment within myself of like, I'm not willing to live the life I was living before that. No.
Do you think that like maybe from, because kind of from what you've described sounds like kind of like your typical idea of like what rock bottom would be, which is like nowhere to go but up, basically.
Yeah.
Like it's not going to get any worse than this,
Yeah.
might as well try. Do you think that like that's maybe like this, how am I don't know how I'm going to say this, like the only way for it to like really have the impact it did and for you to be ready for it would be like from that place? Like, do you think it would have stuck the way that it did if you were kind of in like a somewhat like not quite a rock bottom place? I'm just wondering because like the level of determination that you had to like commit to
I
that,
woke up with.
that
Yeah.
yeah, like that's pretty amazing, and that doesn't always happen when you feel like you have other options. You know what I mean?
Well, and so the video that I released this morning has like more of a detailed version of this story, but like for the 4 years leading up to July 9th of 2016, that was like my wellness journey where I would do it for like a month or two, and then I'd stop for 5 months, and then I'd do it for a month or two, and I would feel so good that then I would be like socializing, or I'd get a boyfriend or like something like that exciting would happen. And then I would take that energy that I was taking care of myself with and I would put it into my friends or my relationship or whatever, and give that a few weeks, and now you're back on the roller coaster of like up and down. So I'm going to say for me, just going off of the fact that it was 4 years of like false starts where I had the best of intentions and no follow through, a little bit of fun distraction, and I was over here now falling apart again. And when I'm miserable enough, I came back to self-care. And I'm going to say for me, like my hard headedness required that I get to where I got to. I don't think it's required at all for everybody. I think it can be a much gentler process than that. But like the relationship I was in where I'd given it everything, and we broke up again, and he had a friend that was a girl. Oh my God. And it like pushed me over the edge of like that was the puddle I was in on the floor the day before I went to see the therapist. So it was like once again, I poured my whole self into somebody else again, and they left again, and I'm here with nothing again. And I was like, I can't keep doing this. And I went to the therapist and she gave me the deservability treatment. And I realized like that makes a lot of sense. Like I have no sense of self-worth. If I find somebody who likes me, I cling to them because I hate myself. So this is the only place, my only source of love for myself is from them. So that was my cycle. And I let myself be empty and alone because I gave it all to them again. And 2 days later, I woke up and was like, I'm not living that life anymore. You can't. Like you just can't. You've got to give it to yourself because they can leave and they will take it all. And that's their right. That is so their right. They didn't do anything wrong. I gave it to them. And I feel like I had to learn that lesson over and over and over. So I mean, I think it's like, how hard is your head? And that's how bad you need to be suffering for you to get it, that like you've got to take care of yourself. But I don't think it has to come to that.
That makes sense. I really liked how you said like self-awareness is not the same thing as self-worth. I think that's a really, really good point, and I hadn't really thought about it like that. But yeah, self-worth is a different thing. That self-awareness, I think, is a, can help foster self-worth, sure, but yeah, just because you're giving yourself that attention and that care doesn't mean you're building your self-worth. Like, I'm telling this to myself right now. That makes a lot of sense.
Cool.
It's almost like, yeah, Aries and Taurus kind of, like self-awareness being Aries and then self-worth being kind of the next step from that place of self-awareness, where we can actually foster that love for ourselves, which is hard work, but worth it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think yeah, self-awareness feels like a path to, it feels like a path to, like it's like the channel to, I mean, it's a starting point because you have to see what you see first, and then what you bring to it, like that's different. It's different.
Agreed. It's like the precursor.
It
Because yeah, like,
reminded,
go ahead.
I know it just hitting the rock bottom, those words were coming through my mind too. And I feel like many of us are distracted, addicted to food, people, things, we want to get away from our pain. Like, and that's okay sometimes, but it's like when it comes to a point where you're like, those things aren't working anymore, and you said it, like you were willing to give it a try and you were willing to surrender. Like that point is the point that is life changing, when we're willing to surrender. And it reminded me of I don't know if you know Gabby Bernstein.
Okay.
Not really.
She's written many books and done a lot of the of talks. And the one that comes to mind is The Universe Has Your Back. And she was being interviewed, and she became really famous, kind of like Mel Robbins, like along those lines, that kind of motivational speaker and spiritual person kind of thing. But I remember talking to someone and they were saying, yeah, she's preaching to everyone. Like she's gotten that status, like that the person said, like, it's amazing how many people she's reaching. And I was reading her stuff and I wasn't thinking about how many people she was reaching. What amazed me about her is that she was an alcoholic, in her 20s, and then she continuously went back to AA continuously, and her mother taught her meditation. And she said, somebody asked her recently on some video, like, what are you most proud of with your body of work and your life now and everything? And she said that I've been able to keep coming back to myself. That's huge.
Well, and in my experience, that's all you need to survive. All that it takes to save your life. It's your own willingness to look back at yourself.
And it's just interesting, like when you have so many speaking engagements and books that she's writing and things she's doing and people pulling her in all directions and, coming back to herself and her like main relationships. Like that's quite a feat. That is quite a feat.
Yeah. I like that question. Like, what is your most proud thing that
Yeah.
you've ever accomplished in your life? I feel like I want to like sit in that for a while, but like what came to my mind sounds a lot like hers, like feeling content, I think is my best accomplishment. And that's only like in these last couple months that I've ever felt that way. And to me, that's like the other end of the spectrum from ambition. And I've chronic, unfulfilling chasing of all the goals. Like you can meet a million goals and like it's hollow every time in my experience. But yeah, feeling content on the inside, like you don't need to meet a goal. You don't even need to have a goal. Like you're good exactly where you are right now. Like this moment doesn't need to change. That feeling, like you can't buy that. Like you can't win that. You can't, like nobody else can give it to you. I mean, that's like the kind of jewels like you were talking about in that guided meditation where we got to like pick out the jewels that we wanted to take with us. It's like inner peace and contentment is one of the most valuable things I've ever found in my own experience, for sure.
I love the view of those as like that is an accomplishment. Like you said, like nobody can give that to you. You gave that to yourself. And that feels sort of coming full circle, like a really beautiful balance of masculine and feminine, where, like, yes, it is an accomplishment. It's something maybe you can have ambition towards. Like, I want to feel content. I want to feel inner peace, and I'm going to strive for that. But the way you do that is by taking care of yourself, loving yourself, these very feminine things of where you're really receiving. And that in itself is an accomplishment. And that just feels very balanced and beautiful.
Yeah, it does.
It does.
Like, I can strive toward that. That's something I want to strive towards. And I want to put in the work of like being committed to, like, commitment being sort of a masculine thing, to caring for myself and creating that environment of inner peace, which is more of a feminine idea. So it's just, yeah, I like that a lot.
And I like putting it back in those terms because it does feel like an incredibly feminine accomplishment. Like for me, it very much reminds me of Taurus. Um, like the cat stretched out in the sunshine, like nowhere to be, nowhere to go, like in love with their moment. This is paradise. To
Okay.
me, like that is like the top end of Taurus. And I've caught myself having some of those moments um, very recently. And I was thinking about that this morning as far as like, what have I had to let go of in order for that to come in? And this year, a big one that's had to go is my guilt. I see how like my chronic guilt was like kind of like what I was trying to numb with my ambition. Like if I do enough good stuff, it'll make up for all this bad shit that I feel so guilty about. Let me even it back out. This doesn't work like that. You gotta like realize that guilt's not yours. I love Matt Kahn's interpretation. That's like what helped me cry it out and let it go. Was like basically he says like when you feel guilt, that is a sign that somebody else hid their pain inside of you instead of face it themselves. That's what guilt is. And I'm like, I'm sorry, what? Because I have lived a life with like guilt riding shotgun on my shoulder. And I thought it was from all the bad things I did. And when you put that spin on it and you go back through, like he talks you back through it, and it's like, wow, I see. I see what you mean. Yeah. Wow. Okay. So I wasn't actually in the wrong, or maybe I was, but the actual details of what took place between us, I started the story in the middle. And when you look at it like that, like the story started way before that. And it was just like reframed, like one after another, after another, after another of these things that like were heavy on me. And without the guilt, I feel great. I don't need to do anything. I don't need to make a video. I don't need to meet a goal. I don't need to stretch and do more. I'm just sitting here and I feel really good. So this is a nice moment. And I'm like in that zone so much of the time, like these last few weeks. And honestly, I do credit that Matt Kahn. Um, it's his program. It's called Angel Academy. He's on number 14. Believe this is like the 14th iteration of him hosting it, and it's different every time. It's like his own leading edge of like what he's ready to facilitate. And this is like a guided tour of transmuting like all of the bottom spectrum emotions. So like there was a whole session on guilt. The first one was around shame. The other ones he's done so far were apathy and grief. And so like it's incredible. You can still sign up. It's totally open. We'll put maybe a link to like mattcon.org in the description box. But yeah, that was like super powerful to see just a completely different, completely empowered perspective of emotions or messengers. So like what is it telling you when you feel this way? What does that mean? So yeah, that's what he says guilt means. And that helped me to feel a lot better. So I'm gonna go with it until it stops working for me.
I love Matt Kahn. Really, any of
He's
his, like
incredible.
even his free videos on YouTube and stuff, like just so helpful. And he just is like this beacon of love. He's so like just so sweet, and it comes through like, yeah, he's a very like comforting presence in my opinion. Yeah, I love him.
I was watching one of his free videos when I was like, he is so incredible at making me feel better. Like, and I needed to feel better at that time when I signed up for the course. I was like underwater a little bit. So I was like, let's offload some old stale emotional energy. Maybe that'll help.
Yeah. That'll lift the weight off of you, help you feel
big,
lighter.
big time.
Yeah.
Oh, makes me so happy.
So
Seriously, like how the triple conjunction was supposed to be like in Taurus that we had last month was supposed to be like a lightning bolt on the chain between you and like the ball and chain that you're carrying that's like weighing you down. And I was like, what's it gonna be? What's it gonna chop off? Guilt, life changing. Holy shit. Yeah. What did it chop off for you guys? Do you resonate with that as far as like in the last month or so, something like breaking off of you?
Mhm.
Is that a thing?
yes. Now that you mention it, I'm trying to think. When was so it was like kind of the beginning of August.
I know. I had it. My phone's over there. It was, yeah, early August
Yeah,
with
August.
the
That's
triple
how,
conjunction. Maybe
yeah,
even August 1st
maybe have
or the
been
8th. I don't know.
just before the Lionsgate portal, so maybe the first, yeah.
Maybe the 1st.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. But anyway,
Yeah, right. It's been a little over a month, we'll say.
yeah.
I think my something that really has been like shook loose is my sense of feeling obligated. It's something that's still unraveling, but yeah, feeling obligated towards things and feeling like I'm really sinking into my inner yeses and nos over this last month. And that's super liberating to feel that power inside of myself and to like really learn to trust that, like trust my inner no and not be like questioning the shit out of it because that's normally what I would do. And generally that comes from a sense of obligation, which is totally my self expectations and it's coming from inside of me. Nobody's telling me I'm obligated, but that's something that I'm really unraveling still, and it really is liberating, and it like feels like stepping back into a little bit more of my own power. So that's been cool. But it's been a lot, yeah. Quite the journey.
Huge.
Yes, I've been given a lot of opportunities to work with it too. It's been kind of amazing how it's unfolded. Like different people reaching out to me who, I like haven't heard from in a really long time, and they're reaching out and they want to hang out. And some people, it's like, no, like in or no, just like, nope, I don't want to. The only reason I would do that would be out of a feeling of obligation or guilt, honestly. And then other friends who have reached out, like it's been a yes, and it's been really clear, like, oh, so that's what like an actual inner yes feels like. And that's really good to have. I've had like these side by side experiences of feeling like an inner no and an inner yes, and it's helped me really see like what those feel like and what the difference is. So it's been very powerful, and I feel like it was just waiting until I was ready. I'm ready now.
So did you say no to the no and say yes to the yes? And if so, how was the aftermath of both of those?
Yeah, well, the one that I wanted to say no to kind of turned into a roundabout. Like, I didn't feel like I could directly, this is something I'm still working through, is I didn't really feel like I could directly say no, which is something I think learning is like how to do that in like a respectful, loving way. Um, yeah, because if somebody's like, "Hey, we should catch up," and you're just like, "Nah," like I don't know if I like that. So I'm still kind of figuring that out. Um, but yeah, it kind of turned into like a plans got canceled last minute sort of thing. So yeah, I need to work on that one. But then the yes was, yeah, that was an easy yes. Actually, I wanted to like, I think I sat on it. I even questioned my inner yeses, I realized. I'm like, do I really want to do that? I'm like, but I felt excited about it. And then sometimes the fears will trickle in, like, oh, but what if they're going to judge you, though? And it's like, Carly helped me see this one where it's like, is that inner desire to do the thing stronger? Like, is that there? The actual, like, want to do it. Because I, like, wasn't even factoring that into the equation of, like, I didn't think that was important whether I wanted to or not. Because I felt like I should or I'm supposed to or something like that. And it's like actually what if I want to do something or not does matter. And I'm allowed to like indulge myself in that, even if it might seem like rude or whatever. Because I'm very afraid of being perceived as being rude. I've realized I've really learned that about myself. It's like I just want everybody to think I'm nice. But then like in a lot of cases when I'm trying to be nice to other people, I'm like not being nice to myself. So that's not fair either.
I think a lot of us can relate to that. Definitely.
For sure.
Feeling the inner yes and inner no, and then actually executing it.
That's tricky. Yeah.
Tricky. And it's like in a way that feels good for us,
Right.
If somebody is attacking me or like, coming after me physically or whatever, my no is going to be much easier,
Right.
Yeah. But then it's somebody I care about or a relationship I feel, in line with, then it's like I want to be softer about it. And like I even said, when we were talking, is like my no's in relationship are often no for now. It's just that's just when it's a yes relationship overall, it's no for now. And there are probably other iterations of that can be a yes. That's just generally how I operate. that feels good for me to say no for now, but what about this? Or like, let's have some dialogue about a possible yes for, something else. That's how it feels good to me.
Yeah. I love that. Like it's a yes relationship. I like looking like that's a new way to look at it for me that I really like, where like the relationship itself feels like a yes. And just because like they reach out and they want to hang out or whatever, and it feels like a no this time, that doesn't mean that it's like, I don't want to be your friend anymore. It's just no right now. That's okay. That has been definitely part. I'm really glad you said that. It's been part of my lesson, I guess. One of the friends who reached out to me, she had also reached out earlier in the summer, and it just like felt like a no for me at that time. And I said no, and I said it respectfully and everything. And um, then she reached out again more recently, and it felt like a yes. I was like, that's okay. Just because I said no one time doesn't mean like the friendship is over now. So I gotta sometimes I get in my head about that. Like if I say no, that they're not gonna want to be my friend anymore. But that's like that's not how friendship really works. I don't think I'm learning. It's not really
Not
how it works.
not good ones. No.
No, definitely.
In good ones, we can say
Yeah.
no, not now. I'm listening to a course on this. There's a woman, I think she was introduced on the Blue podcast. She was one of her guests, but she has a platform called the Embody Lab,
Mm.
and there's lots of different courses on relationships, and she's married now. She was married before, and she was homeless and was like a foster kid, so she never really learned like good, like positive attachment. So that's her like desire now, to teach people positive attachment and positive relationship skills. And there's one that I've been listening to on I can't remember the name of it, but I keep going back to it, and she has her husband on there, and there's it's a replay basically, and she goes through like different ways of communicating that's like positive and helpful. And it can relate to friendships, it can relate to romantic relationships, it can relate to anybody that you have a yes relationship with, and how to continue to keep it not like rose-colored glasses positive, but positive to where you both feel like your needs are getting met, and it's not power over or under. Yeah, over time. And she was one thing you reminded me. I guess I can't remember exactly what it is, but the way that she couches statements and the energy with which she relays it, her and her husband, it makes a big difference. I guess it's a relationship thing when we're talking about, because when we have our inner comfort and we're comfortable with ourselves and we're in worth, and then how we take that worth and hear our yes and our comfort and then be in relationship with other, that's a whole other dynamic that I feel like I'm still learning too. Because like I said, when I was younger, it was my dad and my brother, and they were aggressive. Well, my brother wasn't until later, but my dad was super physically aggressive. So that's all I learned, is how to deal with problems by being aggressive back. And then when I got older, I was like, I'm not actually aggressive. I'm actually really sensitive.
Right.
So unlearning that is a big deal.
Makes a lot of sense. Was it Azria? Is that her name? Maybe.
That sounds right. She's
Yeah.
like with the long blonde hair.
Maybe not. I have no idea. I haven't seen enough of the podcast episodes to know, but that sounds really cool and really interesting. Yeah, focusing on attachment issues. That's powerful work, I think, for a lot of people.
Yeah, and I mean, I respect somebody like her. I'm looking her up right now because of her background,
Right?
like if somebody can come from that and then really learn new skills and teach them, It's not Azria. I'll find it later. I'll let you know what it is.
Yeah, yeah, cool. That sounds really interesting.
So my Uranus like bust out thing was work and realizing that I was too far in. I was too far in my yes to a no relationship at this point in that situation. I was trying to like not people who are relying on me. I wanted them to be able to keep relying on me and I wanted to be able to still be there for them. And I'll admit at one point, like being the go-to person felt good. I was like, yeah, I'm needed. Like, ooh, this is great. You know, I love helping people and having this body of knowledge. And then that body of knowledge and help became my like iceberg that I was sitting under with a toothpick. And then when I started trying to spread it out and say no, I was getting a lot of like pushback on that. And just kept firm. I just had to keep firm. It was very hard to do that because I don't want to not I don't want to let people down. But I had to keep firm and keep going. And people were saying, no, we keep going. And I'm like, I'm not gonna sit in this. I'm not gonna sit in this chaos and pretend it's not chaos and keep going as if everything's okay. So that was a big change. I don't know how it's going to play out, but it feels good that I stood my ground.
Amazing.
And things are falling apart, but I'm just like, I'm not.
I love how you say that so factually. Things are falling apart.
They are.
That's a fact.
Like a power moment.
That's what's happening.
Totally.
But yeah, you seem okay. Like,
Yeah, I'm not going to be like, eh. No, I'm not contorting.
It's like having a tower moment, but you've got a parachute or something. It's like, yeah, I'm falling out of the tower and it's on fire and it's crumbling, but I'm slowly floating down to the ground.
Something will catch me.
Yeah.
I know it will.
well, that's kind of that place you said of like, I like to float above identity. Like, you're clearly not identifying with this job nearly like when you're under the weight of it and it is hard to stand your ground. Like, that's almost like a identity battle, it sounds like. Like, I want to be the helpful one, but I also want to like stay sane and take good care of myself.
Exactly.
It's like, which one are you? You know, maybe they can't both still survive. One of them's got to go. And I feel like that's kind of like all three of us. Like, when you listen to the story, like it was like there was a different identity in there that was taking up some of the energy, and that one has got to go. Like, that's not the real you, you know? That's so exciting. I think. I love when all the cards are up in the air and the slate, like the canvas is completely blank, and like I love a blank slate. I really do.
So much new space has been created.
Yes.
An exciting place to be.
Yeah.
We'll let it unfold.
So many possibilities.
Yeah.
And the divine timing of like, we don't get moved into like a brand new place until it's time to go there. So like there's cooperative components like ready, like up ahead, you know, like they're getting in position, you're getting in position, like oh, so cool.